forcing them to confront each other in front of us and, yeah, give us the gossip, man. That's what we want.
Here for it.
We are
totally
here for it. You know what is not here? The bridge.
Yeah.
We are in New York City. Welcome to New York,
Let me tell you what's not going on in Houston. Snow.
New York make you tough. First day.
Angry.
Draymond Green.
Speaking of tough and angry.
Today after shoot-around, Draymond took a moment to address his incident with Kevin Durant from Monday night, where he repeatedly called KD the B word and all that. Let's listen.
Kevin and I spoke. We're moving forward.
Look at that in the corner.
I think there's no secret that I am the emotional player. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I play with that same emotion. Sometimes they get the best of me, and it doesn't work in my favor. I'm gonna live with that, because it works in my favor to the good, as my resume speaks and this team resume speaks, more so than it doesn't. And so I'm never going to change who I am. I'm going to approach the game the same way that I always do.
Game 5, 2016 Finals.
Did he convince you, Bo? Did he convince you that everything will be okay moving forward?
Well, I am curious about the conversation that he had with Kevin Durant, right? Because the whole thing was basically, I'm emotional. This is just how I do. It helps my team, so forth and so on, and all of that. But I didn't hear him say there, I didn't mean that stuff I was saying, because that is an important part. It is not simply that you call Kevin Durant the B word and all these other things. It's that apparently you believe these things about him. And now you have told him what he's supposed to forget. Like if you said it was like, dog, I don't feel that way. That's one thing. I'm pretty sure he feels that way.
But look how much they love each other. I mean, none of this felt manufactured or staged at all. No, we were just randomly shooting on the same basket and then randomly dabbing in front of each other.
Everybody else is on the other basket.
Yes. No, this was some combination of we got to put the two kids at school in a corner where they can work out their problems. But then, in terms of that press conference that was held, Bo, as we watch KD and Draymond very casually hang out. Who's really paying attention? This is Draymond being somewhat political in his own way. He could have done this more explosively. He managed to not say anything that would contradict who Draymond is, I think, in his soul, in his spirit, while also deliberately not apologizing for what he did. He also just deliberately said, look, I'm not here to say judgments on anybody if they leave, but also if Clay leaves, if KD leaves, we had some good years together.
Yeah.
And you did, but that's not the year coming up.
Now, to be clear, he doesn't owe us an apology. Like, that's the one thing I won't knock him for if he doesn't apologize publicly, because he didn't do anything to us. We just happened to see something that, quite honestly, we weren't supposed to see. Now, we saw it because Draymond did this in a place where he was not supposed to do.
Very visible.
All of this has to be clear, but I do think a detail that's worth noting is he's appealing the fine that came with the suspension. Now, it's $120,000, so it's not my place to tell him you just need to write off that $120,000. But that indicates that he believes that he has been treated unfairly by the team. That indicates that he believes that they went too far. And as concerned as we are about his relationship with Kevin Durant, just as important is his relationship with management, keeping in mind after all this time of ingratiating himself to the owner, when the rubber met the road, the owner said, nah, I'm with this new guy.
Yes, and Draymond is, in a sense, saying, if you don't like me at my yelling at KD, you don't deserve me when I'm winning titles, because that's how I win titles. And by the way, that's also how he got suspended. That's also how he wound up yelling at Steve Kerr and getting fined the last time in 2016.
Who we also called the B word. Yes. Look, I didn't know you could do that at work. He must be real good at his job. Next name is the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is in Seattle tonight to play the Seahawks in what looks like a must-win for the Packers to make the playoffs. Pablo, is there a chance Mike McCarthy's job is in serious peril if they don't win tonight?
I think it should be, and I think it is, because this does have the feel of a loser-leave-town scenario where town is the postseason. Now, the good news for Aaron Rodgers and for Mike McCarthy is that they have this running back, Aaron Jones, who has seemingly come out of nowhere. Back in September or October, Mike McCarthy wasn't playing him because he couldn't catch, he couldn't block, but it turns out, according to the statistics, he has the highest yards per attempt in modern NFL history for a running back, minimum 150 carries ahead of Bo Jackson. So that guy may make their offense more balanced. They may run the ball more. To you, is that enough of a wrinkle for Aaron Rodgers to feel better about the pieces he has around him?
I mean, it might make him feel better about the pieces he has around him, but it also might be too late. Right? Like, as you said, Seattle right now is sitting at 4-5. And by the way, a better team this year than I thought that they would wind up being. The Packers are sitting right now at 4-4-1, and the Packers have two good teams in their division that are ahead of them. It doesn't matter if you got the pieces if they're not going to make the playoffs this year. And if they're not going to make the playoffs this year, my guess is that Mike McCarthy gets fired. Now, I don't think he gets fired like on Friday afternoon if they happen to lose this game, but that would probably be the end of the road for him. So they have to go play in this stadium that is not nearly as daunting as it had been previous when the teams were more daunting than the Seahawks had.
Better.
But it's still not an easy game to play. It's still a long trip to make on a Thursday night, and they're probably done if they lose this game. And I think they're going to lose this game, and I think at the end of the year, Mike McCarthy's going to get fired.
And there is something to be said for Aaron Rodgers having the best interception rate of his career. He's only thrown one pick. He has 17 touchdowns, I believe, one interception. And Aaron Rodgers is doing all that he can. Mike McCarthy, who is looking quizzically off into the distance somewhere on the screen, as he often does, we've heard just players, alumni, Greg Jennings, we've heard shade coming out of the alumni of the Packers saying he doesn't scheme people open. It is up to Aaron, and Aaron has thrown one pick, and if you squander this season, we've run the experiment. We have the results.
I will say, though, the blessing and curse of Aaron Rodgers is he's crazy risk averse. Now, he's not Alex Smith in that sense of risk aversion because the ceiling of what Aaron Rodgers can do is much higher.
So much higher.
But part of why he winds up with one interception is he's not really going to chance it. He's not willing to go out there and force it. And I do think it's fair to ask the question, if McCarthy's not going to scheme these guys open and we say Aaron has to be the one to do it, sometimes you got to push the envelope on those things. That being said, the fact that you're asking Aaron Rodgers to push it farther instead of you pushing Aaron Rodgers farther, borderline fireable offense.
That's where you could add value to your team. The last name, the Lakers. The Lakers beat the Blazers last night, Bo, for their fourth straight win behind 44 points from LeBron as he passed Wilt Chamberlain for fifth on the all-time scoring list. How much are you buying into the Lakers' impressive start, especially since they got Tyson Chandler?
Well, it's not an impressive start. It's since they got Tyson Chandler, because when they were not starting impressively, the show was about how they did not start impressively.
True.
All right, I got one of them cars. I got statistics on it. You ready?
Oh,
this is actually some pretty
car.
important stuff here. The Lakers are 23rd in the league in defensive efficiency before Tyson Chandler came. Since then, fourth. They were 23rd in the league in opponent field goal percentage. Since then, third in the league. No. They're a worse offensive team with Tyson Chandler, but they are 10 points per 100 possessions, just about better with Tyson Chandler on the floor versus him off the floor at this point. This is a thing. This helps make them a lot better because the margins in the NBA are often as thin as adding a dude in his 17th or 18th year.
And the other takeaway I had from this game, of course, is that LeBron James, when he wants to, can activate that switch. LeBron James has a superpower that doubles sometimes as an indictment. Why aren't you being the LeBron James we remember? Well, finally, he has a moment, the opportunity to pass Wilt Chamberlain where he says, Kobe stands, if you're out there, you want to know what efficiency looks like? 44 on how many shots was it?
I believe it was 19.
19 shots, a triple-double. That is something that is unique to LeBron. That is what we expect and demand from him in the postseason. And he finally gave it to his fan base, his new fan base, at a time when maybe they were not appreciating him as much as they should.
I would also say this, though, where you say Kobe stands, do you want to see efficiency? To which Kobe stands respond, I mean, okay, maybe. Like, we don't really trip on that sort of thing. That's not their bag. That's not what they're into.
60 points on 60 shots.
Kobe saying, look at that LeBron, like, you scored 44 on 19. It sounds to me like you should have taken 44 shots.
But this is what LeBron can do, and it is not inconsequential. When we look at this list, right, it's funny that he is passing by these names and we celebrate it, blah, blah, blah. But by the end of this, we all know that he's going to be the guy with all the records. And so the question for the Laker fans out there, if you have doubts about it, is do you want to be a stockholder early or do you want to be a stockholder late? And maybe the counter argument is all of these people are unhinged and irrational and they don't care.
That is the argument I've been trying to give you since the very beginning when you have tried to reason with the Kobe stand.
But if I don't have that, if LeBron James cannot convince these people, Bo, We're in a bad place as a
Guess what,
as
Pablo?
a country,
Open up the newspaper, turn it to the sports section. We're in a bad place. How are you so late to recognize this? Coming up next. What's coming up next?
Ooh, yes, a love story.
The Shaq Kobe chapter. Oh, now that's beef. This is not that. That's beef.
Ethan Strauss, our friend, talked to Iguodala, asked him about the Shaq Kobe thing. As Andre said, everything come to an end. Foreboding. First quote. I said it before this season, it's whatever to me. We have to figure something out because for whatever reason, we're not playing our best basketball right now. Said Gordon Hayward about being willing to come off the bench for the Celtics. Bo, do you see this as a slow start for Hayward and the Celtics or something more?
I'm not sure. I mean, he has simply not been good. There's no argument that you can make that he's been good. There is no real silver lining. And I do think that part of it is the Celtics are trying to run this starting lineup that had, Irving, Tatum, Brown, Hayward, and then Al Horford. Because they got a lot of guys that kind of have to play, dictated by what they've done previously and what their salaries are. I got another one of these cards with the statistics on it. With Gordon Hayward on the floor, right, their offensive efficiency is 92.7 points per 100 possessions. Off 110. That's for those other four guys. He is actively making them much, much worse. So I do think they need to try him off the bench because him in the starting lineup is a problem.
Yeah, and Marcus Morris, who missed last night's game due to illness, but otherwise should be fine, he's been better than Gordon Hayward. He's at 50% from the field, 48% from three, a guy who can rebound, which Gordon Hayward does not. But the bigger thing with the Celtics is that they woke up and saw the standings and realized that the East is slipping away from them. Last year, Bo, the atmosphere, the mood in and around this team was, this is all gravy because we don't have our guys, we don't have Gordon, we don't have Kyrie. The young guys are just taking us far beyond our expectations. This is different because now there is the expectations and the pressure to figure out how do we play all of these wings, and are any of them good enough to lead us to a title?
Right, but the thing is, they have to play them all until they get it through their heads that they have to trade them. You can't just wait for the perfect deal every time. They're going to have to make a move. Like, they have to play Jaylen Brown because of how well he played in the postseason last year. They have to play Tatum, who, by the way, is not playing that well, but they have to play him because of what he did. They have to pay Marcus Smart because they paid him. They have to play Kyrie Irving. They have to play all these different guys, and we didn't even get to Terry Rozier.
No, and look, Jaylen Brown, 38% from the field. Gordon, 39. Tatum, 41.
Yeah.
Inefficient.
Next quote. Appreciate the cleats, my guy. Says Steelers linebacker Bud Dupree thanking Le'Veon Bell after going through his locker and taking his J's. Let's listen.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the cleats, my guy. Appreciate the cleats, my guy, man. You know what I'm saying? But I hope you the best, man. Wish you success, my guy. But appreciate the cleats, man. I'm taking all off and on, bro. What's love?
Arlington, Georgia. That's where that accent's from.
Man, I hope you get that dead leg right. Gotta get that dead.
That is some nice patent leather, I gotta say. But, Bo, we have been theorizing, well, what if the Steelers actually managed to retain Le'Veon? Is there a transition tag in his future? It turns out the transition tag in this locker room is the transition between this dude ripping the tags off of Le'Veon Bell's stuff and then just wearing them.
I think they still might be willing to take him under those circumstances. But once you say you not coming back, then your stuff goes. Like I say, this is like Storage Wars, right? Once you have left this here, people are entitled, and it is your lucky day if you and Le'Veon wear the same size shoes. But no, let me tell you ain't about to just be leaving some J's there that is obvious that you're not going to pick up.
Those are too nice.
Somebody going to take them. Somebody's bringing them back. The rest of that stuff look team issue. They can get that themselves, but those J's, they look rare.
No, this was a box that was sent from Nike, apparently, unworn, pristine, the 11 low cleats. Apparently, there's also a CD in the locker room that said Le'Veon Bell #1. If any Steeler out there wants to listen to it and let us know what and myself. Said Mariners bench coach Manny Acta defending manager Scott Service against allegations that he made anti-Latino racist remarks. Recently fired director of high performance Lorena Martin accused Service of, quote, calling Latinos lazy, dumb, and stupid, especially the Dominicans, end quote. How big of an issue is this for the Mariners?
I mean, I don't see how it could be small. Now, it is a matter of how closely they themselves want to investigate the matter, how willing to show dirt they are to get to the bottom of what did or did not happen. I will say this, though, and I did another television show. Me and Dan would talk about this all the time. Major League Baseball has had this cultural divide that is apparent because the great segregator is language, right? Above all else, language winds up being the great segregator. And what you have is American-born players, primarily white, and these players from other countries, primarily Latino guys. And then you had this, the allegation is what he said, that Latins are not smart enough to be managers, not smart enough to be catchers. Like, it's really messed up stuff that was said. But I don't feel like Manny Acta was talking so much about anything other than Manny Acta making sure that if he said that around me, we'd have been in here moving some furniture. Because the problem with something like this gets alleged is that if you are part of the group that is being discriminated against, people looking at you like, so what was you doing?
But the other thing about this is that this is not necessarily a novel insult by any means. We've had media members who have raised similar concerns about the alleged intelligence of our Dominican brothers and sisters. And you're right. If we had all of these guys, all of the Americans, the English speakers, if we had them all communicate in a language that they learned like 5 to 10 years ago, how would that work out? Because all of this just seems to be a lack of empathy for people who are in a different place speaking a new tongue.
It ain't nothing about empathy. They could be coming over here with master's degrees. The people that feel that way, if that's really how they feel, it's not because they have an evidentiary basis. It's just good old-fashioned discrimination. Coming up next, Iron Lion Zion.
This is Dr. Gunter Zuloff. Did he solve Carmichael's totient conjecture? Yes. Yes, he did. But did he buy his car at drive time using the industry's smartest online tools? No, he did not. Dr. Gunter Zuloff was almost a genius. Get fast online financing and know your down payment. Shop over 15,000 vehicles at drivetime.com, the genius way to buy a car.
Eight, please.
Is that playing music?
Yeah, it is. It's 8. Thanks.
So, big Eagles fan.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Philadelphia.
This is my floor.
In front of that. 82%. Today's number. That's what Duke freshman Zion Williamson is shooting from the field through 3 games after scoring 21 in a blowout win last night over Eastern Michigan. Bo, you've had some skepticism about Zion early on, so where are you now?
My skepticism was based on the fact that every time I saw a clip of him, he was playing against people that shouldn't have been allowed to play against him.
Little guys.
Now he's gone to play college basketball, and guess what? It still appears that he's playing against a bunch of dudes who should not be allowed to play against him. Now, they did it against Army. Oh, my God, look at that.
I mean, that is above the square in all of the legendary ways that we talk about other players being mythological. He's actually doing it in front of our eyes.
And I would also like to note that there's never been a greater disparity between the coolness of a basketball player and the coolness of the people watching him than there is between Zion Williamson and the crazies that are sitting around there. But, I mean, I just can't figure out now why he doesn't shoot more. Like those other dudes, man, y'all need to chill out and pass the ball to Will.
This dude should not be playing college basketball. This is the case study for why you should let guys go right to the league, because everybody I've talked to, whether it's scouts, analytics nerds, media people, former players, I heard Kevin Garnett raving about him and his athleticism. He does not need to be proving that he can dominate the Kentuckys of the world, which he did to start off, and then the Armies and the Eastern Michigans least of all. We just don't have a comparison for him. He's not LeBron, he's something different.
Well, the one thing I will say, though, about him going to college is that you will hear people make the argument that college gives you better promotion than you would have going straight to the league. And that applies in really a particular set of situations there. However, being that guy at that program in this season is a great combination. This is a legitimate phenomenon now that we have with Zion Williamson. When was the last time we had a legitimate college basketball phenomenon?
No, I think of like Steph Curry, but it didn't start in November.
That was like a time period. We haven't had this. In closing, trying to figure out how no one has interrupted this show to tell us Andrew Wiggins has been suspended or perhaps kicked out the whole damn league. Look at this. You see this? Look at this.
Why?
Right, you know, so they wrapping up this game against New Orleans. Andrew Wiggins. Right.
Great dunk.
Right. The dunk itself was enough. Instead, Andrew Wiggins went out of his way to kick the homie Mirotic in the inseam. Hey, what are you laughing at?
Wait a minute.
No.
Wait a minute.
What are you laughing at?
You're alleging that Mr. Wiggins here was
tell me
intentionally doing
what
this?
else was he doing when he kicked his foot out like that? When's the last time you saw somebody dunk like that? If Draymond Green had done that, would you be cutting him any slack about it?
If Draymond did this, I would have other
Okay,
theories.
well, there it is. It's done right there. I see why Jimmy didn't run a road with y'all no more. Y'all out here disparaging your family names and the whole team with that.
But, Fo, I do feel like this grows out of your desire to make sure that this is a no-fly zone. The zone.
Yeah.
But this feels like that wasn't so much inseam as it was buckle and then inseam, perhaps.
Well, okay.
There was like a little.
What is your point?
Moving down.
What is your point? What is your point? What is your
My
point?
point is simply that the most dangerous aspects of the groinal region may not have been at stake here. I think Mirotic is probably going to be okay. My dad is a urologist, and I can say these things.
Okay.